Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new Western, The Old Way, from director Brett Donahue, and this stars Nick Cage. So, a Western starring Nick Cage drops in the middle of January. Oh, the possibilities. And you look at this film, which opens with gunslinger Nick Cage being hired gun during a hanging. And in the end, everybody winds up dying. The hanged man escapes, and Cage is about to leave. The hanged man tries to shoot him, and Cage wins, leaving his son there, shocked and angry. We jump 20 years in the future, and Nick Cage is living a life with his wife and his daughter. Something about Cage doesn't really know how to connect with people. And his daughters, this character, Ryan Kira Armstrong's Brooke, also doesn't. And then when horrible things happen, him and his daughter must go out on the road, out into the range, chasing down some outlaws. And what really works about this film is the dynamic between Armstrong and Cage. I think they have good chemistry. I think it's an interesting idea that this film doesn't directly try to say these two are sociopaths, but on some level it kind of feels like they are. And them trying, like a father trying to help his daughter really understand herself. And those elements work, but here's the thing. There's not as much of that as you would hope, because there's a lot less Nick Cage in this movie, especially in the second act and the third act, than you would like. You spend so much more time with these outlaws, and honestly, none of them are particularly interesting. You have like Clint Howard playing one of them. Was probably the most interesting aspect, is that you have Ron Howard's brother popping up in this movie as an outlaw. But you have all this time with these outlaws that doesn't really feel productive. It just feels like a waste of time and padding the runtime of the film. We want more Cage. But when Cage is in action, it's one of those kinds of things where it's just like, not even the action is very dynamic or interesting or full attention, because it's just like, oh, well, he's definitely going to shoot him. Got him one shot. And the only time that it feels like he doesn't get it is to try to build extra tension and suspense along the way that feels artificial, because every time else up to this point they make him seem like he's this amazing gunslinger who can't miss. And you spend all this time with this Western that feels pretty dull at times, very derivative. A lot of this is taken from Unforgiven, especially, it feels like. And, you know, when you really all said and done, even like the score feels like it's just kind of ripping off motifs of famous Westerns. And that's what this film feels like, ripping off a bunch of famous Westerns, throwing them all together, and it being a lot more boring and interesting. And there's those elements that do work. Cage, I've seen a lot of people say Cage walks through this. I'm like, I don't think Cage does. He's giving a very specific kind of performance here, and I think it works for this character. It's just, there's not much to give him at times. He just disappears for a while, and this is why we're watching this movie. We want more of that. And he never truly, like, Nick Cage's out. But I think he does fine. I think his chemistry with Armstrong is really strong. And those are the strongest elements of the film. And, you know, by the end, you're kind of just left being like, well, I didn't think I really needed to watch that. Nor did I think I needed to spend $20. Because that's what it is on streaming right now. Because it's one of those, like, in theaters ones. So in the end, not the best Western. If you like Westerns, you might get a kick out of this, but in general, not the strongest. But those are my thoughts on The Old Way. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.